Yeah, hello, my name is Michael Rzenberger. I'm a journalist. I'm criticizing Islam. Sometimes I'm at court, and sometimes I get a acquittal.
Okay, so you were recently acquitted. You were recently acquitted on charges of something or other that got you 6 months in jail because you posted a historically accurate photo to Facebook showing a high ranking Nazi officer shaking hands with a high ranking Islamic cleric. I think it was the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And that got you 6 months in jail, I guess. Had you photoshopped that and made a fake one, you'd be okay. But because it was real and it's true, that presents, like it does in any authoritarian regime, a problem. So you were convicted with a 6 month jail term, and now that's been overturned on acquittal by an appeal court. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right. Now we have a judgment according to law and order. And you have to imagine that was the photo, historical photo. And they judged me to 6 months on probation, I have to say. Yeah, they didn't want to throw me to jail. They wanted that I will be silent for 3 years. Yeah, and I'm no more continuing my Islam criticism. That was the first judgment from August, and it was unbelievable. Yeah, and now we have, fortunately, a good judgment. We had a good judge with two really good beside judges, and all of the three they set me free. So it was legal that I posted this picture because historical picture, and of course there is a swastika, but it's no problem when it's a historical photo and when we are reporting about historical facts. And the second thing was that I said, according to the book of Hamed Abdel Samad, Islam is a fascist ideology. And they said, okay, it's my opinion, it's freedom of speech, it's not blaming a religion. So they set me free. And it's a very important judgment for all Islam criticizers in Germany. Now we can be sure we can criticize Islam, we can criticize Islam fundamentally, and it's a very good sign for the future.
So tell me, let's just go to the beginning. You faced a 6 month jail sentence for having posted a historically accurate and factual picture on Facebook of a senior member of the Nazi Party shaking hands with a senior Muslim cleric during World War II. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And that led to a 6 month jail sentence, which they didn't make custodial, but they made it based, I guess, on the notion that if you say or do anything else the government doesn't like, they could instantly transport you to jail. Was that the idea?
You know, it was on probation. It was a probation of 3 years. So they wanted that I stop my Islam criticism. Yeah. Otherwise, I would go to jail. That was the plan.
So I guess that sorry, I hate to say it, but that's a data point to my theory that there are no democracies left in the Western world, except for the V4.
I have to say it depends on the judge. You know, the judge of the first trial, it was a left wing. You know, you could see she is politically on the left side. Yeah, and she made this judgment. Yeah, out of her political yeah persuasion, and yeah, she didn't accept the facts, she didn't accept the rules. So it was a scandal, a real scandal. Yeah, and we had a lot of reactions in the whole world, and that was good. Yeah.
Is she still sitting on the bench, though? Is she still a judge?
She's still a judge, yeah, and you know, we have to wait until this judgment is complete. You know, the prosecution attorney may go to revision, so we have to wait what's happening, and but when the judgment is fine, then we will see what we will do with the judge. Yeah, she made a lot of bad things to us. Yeah.
And so you're saying now that in Germany the prosecution can still appeal this acquittal and then could bring it back to court and attempt to reinforce the previous judgment. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It would be then to the higher regional court, and there would be a new a new trial. That could be, yeah. And as I know the prosecution attorney, they will try it. Yeah, they want to silence me. Yeah,
right. And of course, nobody has made the claim that anything you're saying is not accurate. Is that correct?
Yeah, the judge said in this trial, we don't have to find out if it's right or wrong what you are saying about Islam. We just have to judge if it's in the freedom of speech what you're saying. Yeah, if it's not blaming a religion. And they said, yeah, it's freedom of speech. It's according to our basic law. We have here the freedom of speech. It's high value in Germany, and we see it in the last trials that the judges tend to say, okay, freedom of speech is more important than the so-called blaming of religion. We have another Freispruch. What is it? Acquittal. Yeah, and another acquittal in this year in the process. Islam is like a cancer. So yeah, we are on a good way. There are still judges who try to silence Islam criticizers, but the other ones are there as well. So it will be an interesting development in which direction it will go.
It certainly will be. Would you agree that freedom of speech would mean absolutely nothing without, and in fact only applies to, freedom to criticize political or religious authority or criticize any dogma or ideology that motivates people's actions? Isn't the entire purpose of freedom of speech to be able to be critical of these things? I mean, if you can't, then how could you possibly claim to have it?
Yeah, it's a difficult subject with Islam. We all know it. Islam is a very sensitive subject. Everybody knows that Muslims can be very, very aggressive when Islam is criticized. They can kill, they can make assaults, terror attacks. So it's a high sensitivity and the nervosity in political area, in the judgment area, people are thinking about how can we deal with that aggressive religion. And I think the more terror happens and the more countries are becoming Islamic fascist dictatorships, the more people wake up and realize, hey, we have to do something. Yeah, and we have to let the Islam criticism go, yeah, and not stopping it. I think we are on a good way. We have, especially in Germany now, a new party, the AfD. It's in the German Parliament since September, end of September, and they make a lot of pressure as well. So it's a good development, yeah.
Oh, it's an amazing development from my point of view, certainly. Tell me, I've read numerous stories and one-line things on the internet that say that that between what's her name? Well, Merkel and her sidekick, is it Kahan? What's her name?
Kahane. Yeah, she's making the censorships. She was former at the Stasi.
Yeah. Well, the rumor is they both were, but I've read that there's been numerous, like dozens of arrests of people that have posted criticism of her immigration policy or Islam on Facebook and on their social media sites. Are you aware of that at all?
A lot of people are blocked on Facebook. They erase a lot. Yeah, because we have a new law. It's from Heiko Maas, our Justice Minister. Netzwerkdurchsetzungsgesetz, it's called in German. Yeah, network pushing through law around this, and they try to erase all critical things. Things that go too far in criticism, as they think, and they said to Facebook, okay, if you don't erase hate speech and all those things, we can put a 50 million euro punishment on you. It's really crazy. Yeah? And since that time, Facebook is erasing a lot, YouTube is erasing a lot. It's a lot of tension there. Yeah, and many people say we don't need such a law because we have our normal law, and if anybody is making hate speech or is calling to violence or killing of others, we have our law. We don't need an additional law for censorship. It's a very difficult situation in the moment, and I think this law could be erased maybe in the next month.
Michael, thank you very much for taking the time to update us. I'm very pleased to hear that at least for the moment the pressure's off, although I understand that they're going to, that you feel that the state attorney may try to appeal and reinstate the conviction, but for the moment there's got to be some relief for you that you aren't walking under this sort of Damocles, which is the German freedom of speech laws.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
But, it's going on. In 2 days, on Friday, I am at court again in Duisburg. It's in the middle of Germany because I made a speech at Pegida, Duisburg, 2 years ago. It was in August. It was shortly before Angela Merkel opened the borders, let 1 million refugees in, and I was making a speech about the invasion of refugees because we could see it will happen, and now they accuse me that I call it invasion. Yeah, so the next trial. So it's not ending. I'm going from one court to another, but we fight it through. That we can say what's happening. It's an invasion. Yeah, they are no refugees. They are looking for a better life, getting good money. No refugees. Yeah, we have to say this, and we have to repeat it until everybody knows what's going on.
Well, yeah, they're not even from Syria, and in fact, even in Syria, it was a small part of the country that was a war. Those refugees, if the real refugees, could have just moved to another town within Syria. So
yes,
the entire thing is completely nonsense. And so you are being taken on trial for actually telling the truth or exposing the truth. And you know what? If the government had declared war and was acting in the interest of the German people in some way, I would get that they want certain things silenced. But this is the opposite. There is no declaration of war, and they're putting you on trial because you exposed the truth, which will protect the Germans against government policy, which is clearly intended to destroy Germany as a nation state. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's right what you're saying. In Syria, there is 98% of the country is safe. Assad is ruling the country, and the Christians and every Muslim who is moderate, he can live there safely. Yeah, and in Syria, 7 million people left their home when there was a war against those jihadis and those Allahu Akbar fighters, and they had to move just 100 kilometers, to be safe, and it's absolutely not necessary to move 4,000 kilometers to come to Germany, it's illegal. And I can tell you one thing: those people, who left Syria are definitely Sunnite Muslims, very aggressive Sunnite Muslims who don't want to live in a country where a moderate Muslim is ruling. Assad is a moderate Muslim, and all those Muslims are now here, and our crazy politicians won't allow them now to get their families from Syria to here. We would be an Islamic State if it's going on that way. Yeah, it's totally crazy. But I have to say one thing. The politicians that are ruling now, Merkel and the Social Democrats, they don't want to ruin Germany. They just don't see what's going on. They are blind. They don't know about Islam. They don't know about the Muslims who came here. They don't know how dangerous it is. They think, oh yeah, we are now good Germans. We help those peoples, those war refugees, and Assad is a killer, and we can't send them home because they would die. Yeah, they believe. They are stupid. I can tell you, it's absolutely crazy. And it's so good. We have the AfD now in the parliament. They said, okay, let us send home all the Syrian refugees. And you should have seen what's going on in the parliament. All the left, the Green and the Social Democrats. Oh, you can't do it. They would die. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
What about
we have idiots? We have idiots in our parliament.
And what about all the Europeans who have died because of acts of jihad by these guys, which is starting to become and the ones that we stopped. I mean, the fact is, when you're looking at this problem, you must look at the attempted terror attacks, because had we not been spending hundreds of millions to watch these guys all the time, they would have happened. I mean, the number of acts of jihad would be up by five times. So I mean. What about those guys? I never hear any. The only time there's ever weeping and wailing for the victims of these guys is if they can spin the narrative to make it look like it has nothing to do with Islam, which is happening in Canada today, when a Muslim named Garbi killed a bunch of women at a women's school because his Islamic faith told him that women shouldn't be studying science; they should be getting married and having babies. And they gave him a French name, Marc Lépine. And he committed the first act of jihad on Canadian soil, and no Canadian knows it. They all think that he was just a typical woman-hating man that felt women should be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, when in fact he was a Muslim with an Algerian father who, and this is the anniversaries today, so I've noticed that in Google you can't find any stories that deal with the truth anymore. You could 2 years ago, but Google itself has now cut all that information. It's really unbelievable how... the age of the internet actually means better information control and not better information access. And this is something people should be profoundly frightened of.
Yeah, and the life in Europe, especially in Western Europe, is now more dangerous than in Syria, because we have all the terrorists here. We have the terror attacks, we have the criminality on the streets, and when I look to Eastern Europe, all the countries who refuse to take those refugees, Hungary and Czech Republic and Poland, there are no terror attacks. They can have their Christmas parties. They don't need the barriers around the Christmas markets. They are intelligent. They say, no, Muslim refugees, we don't want them. No, that's that's good. Yeah, they are acting right.
I got to tell you, by the way, I'd like to mention that the Christmas-wrapped diversity barriers in Germany are the single most cynical thing I have ever seen since somebody told me what was written above the gates at Auschwitz, that work will set you free. I thought Christmas-wrapped diversity barriers so that they can't drive small trucks into Christmas markets, but they could carry a bomb through. These are it's just the most cynical thing I think I've seen since then. Thank you again. Thank you so much, Michael. I've been following your story with great interest. So have the readers of my site, watchers of our YouTube channel. I think what's happened to you is extremely important. So please let us know whenever there's any developments, if it goes back to court. And let us know what happens with this upcoming trial where you used the wrong adjective.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I will. We will see what's going on Friday. You know, we have now all the arguments. What happened in the last 2 years with those refugees? We have the uprising criminality. We have the rapes and everything. So it will be very interesting what the judge wants to make out of this. Normally, yeah, I should be set free, but you never know. Yeah? Duisburg is in North Rhine-Westphalia. It was ruled many years by the Reds and the Greens, also the left, and yeah, we will see. Yeah, but this judgment from yesterday with Islamic fascism is very important for the whole Islam critic scene in Germany and Europe. It's very good for the freedom of speech. We can now go on with our criticizing of Islam. Very, very important.
Indeed it is. Thank you again so much. And please let us know what happens right after your next trial, again, for using the wrong, as you probably know, in the United States and Canada, it's now illegal to use the wrong pronoun. And in Germany, it's illegal to use the wrong adjective. So it's obviously the most important thing in the 21st century is grammar. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you, Vlad, for your work. It's very important that you make those videos, though we have in the English-speaking world the information what's going on in Germany. And it was very good that we have in Washington, D.C., there was a conference. They talked about it. And at the OSCE in Warsaw on the conference, Elisabeth Sabadic-Wolf from BPE talked about this, and Debbie Anderson from Act of America. They talked about my subject. It was very important that the whole world gets the information what's going wrong here in Germany at court. Thank you very much.